All right, guys. So this is the first of our double header training. And in this training, what I'm going to cover with you is traffic conversion. What I found to be some of the most important lessons as it corresponds to getting traffic and turning the most amount of that traffic into leads. And I'm going to be speaking to this from this perspective of paid media. And so let me take a quick second and go through this. And what this training is called the lead capture page evolution, because I'm going to show you really what I've come to find to be the highest converting way to do this. But to do that, we got to talk about this idea that I call paid media. So we're working in a paid media world. And so what paid media means is it means we are going to spend money to acquire traffic in one way, shape, or form. So it's pretty simple. There's two ways to get traffic. If we break it down, free, and then we have paid. Now, I like all traffic, so I take on all incomers, right? But for me, I like to have a very sustainable business, and free traffic doesn't provide the level of control or stability that gives me the sustainability that I want. So what I focus on and have focused on since 2006 is really paid media, because I know if I send some person or I'm on some platform and I spend X amount of dollars, I'm going to get Y as a return in terms of traffic. And that I can manipulate, that I can improve, that I can turn into a profitable business. And so that's why I work in the world of paid media. I'm not here to say any type of traffic is one's better than the other. They're both fantastic. And the good business goes out to get as much of it as it can. But from a stability standpoint, the smarter strategic way to go about this is to deal in the world of paid media, because you have stability there. And well, when we talk about paid media, there's two types, right? There's what we call performance-based media, and what we can call performance-based media, and what we call fixed cost media. Now, what's the difference? Performance-based media is traffic that you buy on something happening. So the perfect example of performance-based media is right here inside of Facebook. I mean, if we look right here on the side here, we have some ads for different things. None of these advertisers here are paying anything for me to just see the ad. So that's why it's kind of smart. If I was going to have a headline here, I'd put like a phone number or like a URL, right? So people can kind of go there, or they can connect in a way where I don't have to pay it. But as soon as I click on that link, that's when that advertiser pays. Now, Facebook's a little bit of a hybrid, because you can buy exposure on a CPM basis, and that's where you're basically buying just on how many impressions you get, okay? So that's more speaking in the fixed cost world, but it's also, for our example's sake, the perfect example of performance-based media. If I click on this offer, if I click on this Discover offer, most likely Discover is going to log into their back office of Facebook, and they're going to see a click, and they're going to see an associated cost with that click. All right. So that's performance-based media. We also have what we call fixed cost media, guys. And fixed cost media is an example. So let me write this example PPC. All right. That's a perfect example of performance-based. Fixed cost media, an example is a CPM model where you buy a certain number of exposures in Facebook. But a better example of fixed cost media would be something like an exclusive email broadcast. And now I'm not speaking about the type of email broadcast where you pay per click. Those are fine. Those are great. But what I'm speaking to is the old school, where you would go to someone that has some prominence in an industry or a database of people or subscribers that they've cultivated a trusting relationship with, and you say, hey guy, I want to give you X number of dollars to send out and get my message in front of your marketplace. In that scenario, that's a true fixed cost scenario, because no matter what happens after I've spent money and that email sent, the money's spent, right? And so for me, this is really the better way to go, because I can play with this, I can improve this, and I can reduce my cost if I'm a smart marketer. So when we get into the traffic monetization session, what we're going to be talking about is all those things we can do to make that traffic profitable for us. And that's the second part of our double header. But what's important to note about these two, and this might be new to some people, I know it was new to me the first time that I discovered this, is that these two medias, the way that we strategically want to think about them and approach them, are absolutely polar opposites. In a performance-based media, the way that I want you to think about that, I want you to think about that like a game of darts, okay? In a game of darts, what happens is, if you hit the bullseye, you win, all right? If you hit the bullseye, you win. When we talk about fixed cost media, I want you to think about this like Olympic weightlifting. When we're talking about weightlifting, you win when you can move the most weight, right? Now, these are two very different sports. Taking the approach that a person playing darts would take to weightlifting isn't going to help you lift bigger weights. Now, you can have better form, and there's a little bit of arguments going both ways where they kind of play into each other. But ostensibly, I think if you can think about these things this way, you can see that they're very strategically, to be the best weightlifter, our approach is very different than to be the best darts player. Darts is all about precision. Where weightlifting is all about power. Okay? Weightlifting is all about power. So in other words, if we're working in a performance-based media, and Facebook again is a perfect example of that, then strategically, what we really want to do is we want to figure out how we can write an ad that's going to repel as many of the wrong people as possible from clicking our link, and be like the most magnetic, attractive force to the exact right people that we want to click that link. If we do that, that's like hitting the bullseye in a game of darts. If we only get the people that are most likely to spend money with us to click our ad, that's where our ROI is going to be the highest, okay? So that's what I mean by this is a game of precision. Now, on the flip side, if we're talking about fixed cost media, we're spending X dollars, and in order for us to get the highest ROI strategically in that scenario, the way we got to think about that is if we've spent X, we want to get as much out of X as possible. And so that's a game of force. We want to, if we're thinking about a banner ad, we want to get as many people to see that banner ad and then click it as humanly possible, because that's how we're going to get the most traffic and subsequently the most leads. If we're talking about something like an exclusive email broadcast, then what we're thinking about there is we got to get the most people to open, and we're going to focus on exclusive emails. Okay. What we want to do is we want to get the most people to open, the most people to click the link in the email, and then the most people to opt in. These are the three most important metrics when it comes to traffic to lead conversion when we're working in a fixed cost media. So we got to think like a weightlifter in this scenario. We got to say to ourselves, what can I say in a subject line that is going to get the most people in the world to open my email and then click the link? We got to say to ourselves, what can I say in that email that's going to get the most people after they've opened it to click and then go to the opt-in page? And then we've got to say, once they get to that opt-in page, what can we do on that opt-in page that's going to get us the most people to opt in? And if we focus our mind on these three things, and let me just write this down. Key metrics. And then, like scientists, we go out and we spend our time to tweak and play with these things. We're going to come out with the highest ROI fixed cost media campaign that we can. And for the last, let's call it 8 years or so, this is where my focus has really been. And so what I want to do today is I want to share with you some strategies you can use. Number one, to create ads that get opened, ads that get clicks, ads that, and landing pages that then get opt-ins from those ads. And that's exactly everything and only everything that we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so the place where I want to begin here is where most people begin when we're talking about this topic of traffic to lead conversion, is they'll start from the perspective of, and let me write this down because this is important. Most people do this. They start with, so they start with a landing page. Most people start with a landing page, and then they ask themselves, what ad can I write? And then they'll ask themselves, what ad can I write that will get me the most opens, clicks, and opt-ins for that landing page? And it makes perfect logical sense, right? And especially if you're an affiliate marketer, the way that most people think about these things is they say to themselves, well, here's my landing page. I'm an affiliate for this. So my goal here as an affiliate is to get as many people to opt into that landing page as possible. But what I want to propose and really emphasize here is that's backwards. This is absolutely backwards. And the reason why is if we look at just the magnitudes of these metrics, we're going to have the most people open, right? If we've got 1,000 people on a list, if we can get 1,000 of them to open, that would be insane. That doesn't happen. But that would be our metric. What most likely is going to happen in best case scenarios is you might get 30% to open, right? With a really, really good subject line on that email. And then from those, so now we're looking at less. Those 30%, we've had 300 people open the emails. We might have, if we're really good, 50% of those people then click the link. So now we've got 150 clicks, right? And I guess I have that stuff kind of written in inverse order, but I think you guys get me here. And then at the end of this entire funnel, what we're going to get the least amount of response from, because the filters are they've got to first open the email, then click the link, and then opt into the page, we're going to get the least amount of opt-ins. And if we're really good here, we can get 50% plus conversions. And so we're looking at 75 leads, right? If we've got, and I'll actually fix this because I'm one of those weird guys that likes to have everything in line. I don't know, it messes with me. Or clicks, excuse me. All right. So we're looking at 300 opens. Okay. And so you can see how this is backwards. We give ourselves the least power if we ask ourselves the question of, because I have X landing page, how can I get the most people to open an email based on that landing page? right? But if we ask ourselves, what is the email subject line that we can get the most opens for? And then we create email copy that is congruent with that subject line. And then we have a landing page thereafter that is congruent with what's in that email. Now, that's where we maximize response. I hope that you guys get that. And I do want to check in with you real quick just to make sure that you do. Do you guys get that? Okay. So this is important stuff, and this is foundational, and it's why I'm taking a little bit of time to go through this. If you get this, just click like for me. If you have a question, click comment there. Because this is foundational, because this is the mindset that is the most important, that's going to get you the maximum response. Don't ask, how can I create an ad to match my landing page? Ask, how can I create a landing page to match the best email ad? And I'll post this in here for you guys so you guys can save this one as a note, because it really is that important, and I want you guys to remember that and keep that. Cool. And so this is the mindset. This is where we're going to think from. Okay. Now, with that said, I'm going to do something a little bit backwards, just because there's a couple key points that I want to walk you through before I go through this whole landing page optimization thing to get you the maximum number of leads from paid fixed cost media. What are things that we can do to improve our open rate? Well, let's go to a landing page. Let's go to, what's a good landing page here? Maybe maximum leverage. Maybe that's a good one, right? If we go to maximum leverage, this is my core landing page. And we're going to see how we got to this landing page in just a moment. There's a science behind what you see here. There's very much so a science behind what you see here. But if I want to create the highest number of open rates, I want a highly congruent ad. And so I'm going to create some space here. And I want a headline or a subject line for that email to match. This will be the body copy, the body of the email. Link. All right. And so what I want to do is I want to take the key points from here and use these in the subject line. And we want to split test subject lines. You want to test multiple different subject lines until you find the subject line that gets you the most opens. But if we're starting, we want to say, if I was looking at this, I would say 37 checks per month, 4,495,459, or excuse me, 954.55 while you sleep, without. All right. So this might be my subject line, or this even shorter. 37 checks, money without. The reason I'm leaving the without there is because that's a cliffhanger. So if we can pull people in with something that's a little bit of a cliffhanger, there's just innate curiosity. So people are going to be more likely to open that email to see what's inside. And the reason that I started with this headline is for example's sake. In the real world, what you would be doing is you'd be trying to define the best subject line possible. And this subject line has come from a lot of research and a lot of testing of the type that I'm sharing with you guys right now. and it's been ripped off a bunch. So it clearly must do okay. But in the real world, you would start with this, and then you would create the body copy that gets the most clicks, and then you would basically take whatever that body copy is and turn it into a subject line or a headline on your landing page. And what that's going to create is maximum congruency. Okay, so keep that word in mind, maximum congruency. In other words, when the subscriber sees this headline, they get curious and they say, I wonder what that's all about. They open the email, they see the body copy, and they see how closely it corresponds to that subject line, and they see that they're not there yet. So they've got to move farther to get sort of a better idea of what's going on here. And then they click the link, and they get to this landing page, and they see that they're in exactly the same congruent place, and all they got to do is follow these final 3 steps. Now they have resolution. They have the ability to go through that process, know they're in the right place, not feel weird anywhere, and then that's going to create the optimum opt-in rate for you in your marketing. Okay. So with that, there's 2 things that I want to share with you just as tips. These are killer tips for traffic conversion from the lead capture page standpoint. For maximum traffic. So there's 2 things you can do with your email ad copy that's going to get you maximum traffic. Number 1, change the from line. Let me show you one of the best examples of changing the from line that I've ever seen. So if I go to my own Gmail account, all right, you guys are going to see all my dirty bits here. You guys can see all the emails I still have left to deal with here. But if I let's search for President Obama. This blew me away the first time I saw it. Let's see if we can actually find Obama's newsletter at Barack Obama. All right, here we go. All right, now here's what I want you guys to see. This is the email that our president of the United States, if you live here in America, I'm just curious to see what that image is. Taking too long. This is the email address that our president, Barack Obama, sent emails from. All right. And we know that Barack Obama has set records for raising funds in terms of, a presidential campaign. And a lot of what has done that has been their use of the internet and their use of email marketing. And so if we know that they're pulling in significant dollars, bigger dollars than most of us can fathom when it comes to our business, and they're doing it through email, we might want to take a look and see what Barack is doing. And so that's why I'm on Barack's list. But what I want you to see is from info@barackobama.com, okay, we can see John Carson, Barack Obama. We can see Abby Witt, Barack Obama. Lindsay Siller, Barack Obama. We got Barack Obama. We got Tom Mauser. We got Organization of Action, Julian Smoot. If you guys want to keep count, maybe that's 6 or 7. Jim Messina, that's a new one. David Axelrod, right? Let's see. Sarah Elamine, that's a different one. See if we can find any more. I think Kathy, that's a new one. Grant Campbell, I think that's a new one as well. Okay. So why would Barack Obama and his fundraising department, his marketing team, in other words, do that? Because when you change the from line, it creates more curiosity and more people are likely to open the email, right? So if you're going out to get, dedicated or personal exclusive emails from people, ask them if they'll allow you to change the from line from whatever they're normally sending it from to something different, now you open up a whole new world of opportunity for getting those emails opened. And when we first started testing this, and we would test this on big traffic buys, so $4,000 plus is what I consider a decent sized traffic buy. I was literally astounded by the results of just changing this one thing. So we changed the from line from, let's say, for instance, from the newsletter that we were buying to money tree method. That's exactly what we changed it to. And we got 100% increase in clicks. Okay. That's a big tip. So it's definitely something you want to see if you can have happen. It's something that you want to do. Okay. Now, we haven't talked about getting traffic yet. I understand that's going to come in the next session, but I want to seed this for you so you know what to do to get maximum traffic for yourself. So in other words, for the same dollar I spent, I just got twice as much traffic for it, and that's always a good thing. The other tip is simple. Remember I said congruency, hyperlink your link with the subject. So if I was going to send out this email, and I'll go in and show you guys an example of this in just a moment, from my own autoresponder, what I would do is that would be the link that I put right here. Okay? In fact, let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let's pull up my autoresponder. Trusty dusty autoresponder. So you guys can see I practice what I preach. We've got, looks like about 406 new leads today. Okay open rate, 8% open rate. We've got some emails that have had as high as a 25-30% open rate when we send to our main subscriber base. In fact, let me actually show you that real quick just so I can show you a couple of email tricks that you can use in your own email marketing that have definitely proven to work for us with our business. So not long ago, I sent out an email. Let's see if we can get back here. This email sent from my iPhone. Now it itself didn't get a ton of opens, right? So we sent this to the whole huge group, not just our opens and clicks, which we typically try to do. So when you do that, you can see from all these subscribers, we're looking at about 3.7% as an open rate. That's okay. It's still 5,000 people opening. It's enough to run a multi-million-dollar business off of. So it's okay for you too to have open rates like that in your own email marketing. But what this email did, and this is the important point for this little side note, is it seeded the next email. I said, tomorrow I'm going to send you something really important, and the subject line that I'm going to send you is X. Make sure you open that email and click the link. All right. And then the next email that I sent, again, we sent to the same large group. You can see got almost double the open rate. Now, some of that is due to the congruency, setting the expectation, but some of this is due also to this headline just being a high open rate headline. Okay. You can see we got about almost 8,000 people to open and over 2,000 clicks. Now, in fact, let me show you this email because this is an interesting email, especially as it relates to the things we're talking about right here. What type of email gets the most clicks? Haha, that type of email gets the most clicks. You see in this email, there's literally nothing except for the link I want them to click and then a hyperlink version of that. So if we want to augment what I said here and give you like the most up-to-date version of what sort of an email is going to get you the most traffic from fixed cost media from a dedicated personalized email broadcast, really, you're gonna laugh at this. this is what it looks like today. So we can basically skip that. We'll have our link here. We understand that this is a hyperlink. Maybe we have our name. My name is Deagan. Welcome, guys. And then underneath that, I would just include an HTTP URL version that goes to the exact same link above. So maybe we buy a domain name that's something like DaganRecommends.com. Okay. Now there's maximum congruency, right? I open the link, I open the email, and I see that the link is literally the exact same thing as the subject line. So I know the only thing I can do is click. I got to be curious about it, so I do click. And then we see underneath that there's a link just in case people can only get text emails. The text version of this would be, so this would be the HTML. And the text version, and then we'll go in and we'll do a test so you can see this. The text version would look like this. That's it. So this has come from, I'd say, several $1 million worth of email marketing testing. And here we come to the simple solution, a solution that anyone can use to create the optimum amount of traffic and conversions in their business. And it's just super simple. Everyone can do this. Now, let me leapfrog you to the next step of this before I go and do a quick little test. Now, the next thing that we're going to be testing, and this is kind of, I would think this is going to work really well now, but we haven't tested it, so I can't tell you as a matter of fact that this is going to be a conversion booster. But the next thing to test is the logical extension of exactly what I have right here. Taking this headline, that's the subject line, that's the clickable hyperlink in the email, and simply making that the only headline here. So instead of having all of this, just have that short version that's exactly the same as the subject line, exactly the same as the body copy in the email, and then they get to this page and it's exactly the same. That's what I call maximum congruency. And hypothetically, it should produce for you the maximum amount of traffic. So let me stop here one more time and ask you guys if you get that, because they seem simple things. They're going to mean a big difference in your business in terms of how much traffic you get, but they're not common knowledge. And that's why I'm giving them to you. These are $1 million lessons boiled down to be super duper simple. So, any questions? If there are no questions, if you guys get me, or if you just have any comments that you'd like to share, please post them. Please post them right here in the comment section. If you don't have any questions, click the like for me, and I'll keep rolling forward, and we'll tidy this bad boy up, and you guys will know how to get maximum lead conversion in a way that very few people do in the world. This is the upper 99.9% echelon stuff. Now, here's another question I'll ask you guys as you're here with me is, now that I've given you this, does that give you a bit of a relief in terms of what to do in terms of email copy when you're sending out dedicated email broadcasts or personalized email broadcasts to other people's lists? Thanks, Brian. Totally appreciate that. Fantastic, sir. Cool. All right, so while you guys are giving me a little bit of feedback, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a little test email so you can see what this looks like, just so we have it as, you guys got the concrete idea of everything that I'm going through here. So we're going to go to our create newsletter function. I'm going to create a new email. This is what I do every time before I share the magic that is my bad grammar in all the emails that I send. I log into this bad boy, put in my subject. Oh, let me see if I did that right. Let me make sure. Yeah, the from line is correct. Now remember, you see we have lots of different from lines. So vary them up, vary them up. And if I wanted to be really sneaky for something like this, what I might do is I might put for the subject, or from the from line, excuse me, I might test something like free. Or I might put free, I might put how to get. So then it's free, 37 checks, blah, blah, blah. How to get 37 checks, blah, blah, blah. And it all reads kind of as one line, right? So these are cool tests we haven't done yet, but we'll get into play and I'll come back with more feedback for you on that. But I just want you to get the thought process here because these are things you can test. You don't need me. You can test these things on your own and come away with some really cool breakthroughs. All right, so now that we got that, let's go in here and create this little test dummy. Here's one more tip for you guys as we go through here. This is something that's pretty recent. My buddy Russell Brunson puts out a newsletter called .com Secrets Lab. I get paid nothing for making this, for mentioning that. Is in what's in his most recent issue that I went through, he had an article on a test that a marketer named Shoe Money did. And they do a lot of email marketing. And what they found was, and this was news to me, and it made me shift how I do some of my HTML emails. In the test, they said they found out that 75% of people that open HTML emails don't click the button to see the images. So for me, if I'm including big images as a big part of my email and I'm kind of expecting people to open that email and click display the images, I might be losing a lot of attention because probably more people than I think aren't doing that. So we've gone to mostly text emails, even if it's our newsletters that we send out in-house. Let me show you one of those. Let's look at maximum leverage. And I'll show you the old version compared to the new version. This is our new newsletter version. You can see here it's all text. There's no HTML images in here. And it's based off of that new piece of information I got from that study result. And let's see if I can find one of our older newsletters here. What I might do is I might put home biz leverage. Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah, I could have just done that. Haha. Here's the old version. So you can see we've got graphical headers, images in there. I think, images do carry some weight and all of that, but I want to go with what the stats say more than what I feel when it's something as important as, how people are going to receive the information that I'm sending. All right, so with that little tip, let me head over here. Let's create our email copy. I think it will take us 1 minute or less. So let's scroll up. Let's scroll down. There we go. So now you guys can see all the different creatives. I'll give you guys these notes in the end, so don't worry about that. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, pop that in there. Let's imagine that this was the link. So I'll take that, I'll hyperlink it. And then I'll hyperlink this. All right. And just for completion's sake, I'll go ahead and I'll grab, in fact, let me pull this down just slightly so it's easier for me to get to. I'll pull this email and I'll pop this in there like that. Now we have the text version. Click close because some people can't get HTML. And let's do a quick little preview. Save it as a draft, and let's do a preview. So that's a mobile preview. That's what it's going to look like in any email. So, that's pretty much it. We can do a sideways one so we can see what it looks like. But that's, ladies and gentlemen, a highly congruent subject line, email body copy, and then, of course, if we carry this forward to our landing page here, highly congruent email marketing campaign. You will get maximum results from that. Okay. So let me go back and check feedback real quick just to see if I missed anything. All right, guys, pulling out all the stops. So here's the other half of this here lesson that's most important. I call this the lead capture page evolution. A lot of times when we look out there online, we think what is, and that's the only way that it's always been. So we see things not as the dynamic evolution that they are in the real world. We see them as more static. This is just how it is. But the reality is, in all things in marketing, in all things in life, there's always growth and evolution. And so for me to say, here's the landing page that is getting the maximum amount of conversions for us when we're talking about email traffic in a fixed cost world, without sharing with you guys why that's the case, I haven't given you the real lesson. So I have to go back to the beginning and share with you why this is so highly converting compared to anything else. And if you guys have looked around the internet, you've probably seen people steal it from all over the place, and it's because it works. Now I wish I could trademark it or patent it so I could get a royalty for every time that people do that. Maybe there is a way, but maybe I'm too ignorant or naive at this point to know how to do it. But getting to this that you see here took a long time and a lot of deep thinking. Just like the stuff with that email, the copy, it's simple, but getting there took so long. Starting by paying copywriters big chunks of money and all of this sort of stuff, and then starting to play with it a little bit, and then starting to learn more about marketing, and then having all the connections come together, and then testing things and having some things not work and having other things work. Now the connections grow stronger, and then you get a true feel for what's really happening. Well, there's a lot happening here, and that's what I want to clue you guys into to make sure that you have and because it's very important. It's the thought process, not what things look like now, that matter the most. Here's what that landing page looked like when it was born. When I first started my maximum leverage business, this is the landing page that we had. Now, important to note, at that point, a lot of the traffic that we were driving was from performance-based media. All right, performance-based media. Now, remember what I said about performance-based media, guys. It's a game of precision. So what strategically creates the highest ROI for me is to give too much information, right? If I include things and that are a lot of copy text and people can read through what they're going to get and they can say, I already know that, I know what's going to happen, and they don't opt in and they go away, great. You saved me some money. Right? I can go back and make sure I don't get traffic from wherever place, but you've kept my results more clear, more clean. And so the reason this page looks like that is because it's positioned and modeled for performance-based media. It's not created for fixed cost media. Now, when I created this, I didn't have the understanding that I do now. So I wouldn't have been able to tell you this to this level of clarity when I did it, but I can now. So wisdom, right? Well, when I first created that page, it was back when video marketing and displaying videos to the marketplace at large was just coming into effect in a big way. And one of the things that I got really excited to do was to test video copy on my landing page. So what I did was I basically compressed all this stuff that I had here as text. And if this video, we're still using this video player, you would see a video player here. And it's basically me speaking through what's on that page as a video opt-in message. Well, that worked better. Not only did we get more leads, but we got more leads that converted. So when we did this split test, it worked out well. How do you split test? There's a website called Visual Website Optimizer. Go here, take some time to learn how to use this. It's actually incredibly simple, but I want to just say that to you now so it's not left unknown. This is the platform that you use to do split tests. You can try it for free. It's not very expensive, and you can learn the ropes for free right there out of the gate, okay? So this is how you use split testing. It's not rocket science, but what it does is it gives you some certainty, mathematical certainty, that if you run traffic at this offer, at this page for an opt-in, and this offer, this page as an opt-in, and it's the same traffic source, that after a while you can see which one statistically is actually in fact better than the other with a very small confidence interval, so that you know that you're pretty certain that you're right. And that's all that marketing is. It's a fun science experiment where you can test lots of weird, cool things and see with metrics what's better. So it's like applied psychology. What do we think people are thinking at this point? And then cool scientific verification that will drive us drive us forward in our thinking and our ability to market. You can't have one without the other, and that's really the fun and the magic of marketing once you get good at this stuff. Okay, so we did this test, and then this beat this, and I was like, okay, this is our new landing page. Now, still at this point, we were doing a lot of performance-based media. But then I had a question, well, if I'm speaking a bunch of stuff in this message, do I even need a headline? And what I found, so I decided to test this version of the page without a headline versus this version of the page with a headline. And wouldn't you know it, you don't even need a headline. This version won. So this became the control. Now next, if you guys want to know what we found to be the absolute optimum version of a landing page when we're talking about performance-based media, this is it. It's a hybrid. So it's a bunch of text and a video. Pound for pound, this got the highest value per customer. So the highest ROI and the highest amount of money from each customer that came through this process. So for Facebook, something like this can work well, is all I'm saying. You're not going to get a ton of leads, but the leads you do get, you can be pretty, if you do your targeting correctly, sure that you're going to have a positive ROI. This crushed it. So this is the answer. Gray background, very, very, that's one of those things, I'll come back to it, that was huge. So then we continue to test, and I see a version of a landing page for a website called Motley Fool. And I say to myself, well, that's different. That's not how I do it. But I'm a curious guy, so I want to test it. And then I go, this is sort of the point where we start doing a lot more fixed cost advertising, text links, banner ads, and email marketing and things like that. We throw that into the mix, and this demolishes all this other stuff. This, we start getting lead conversion rates 40%, 50%. And so for a very long time, guys, this landing page was my control. I couldn't beat it to save my life. It took me years. We had different variations that worked. This was a version that in some instances gave a slight win. We tried different backgrounds and different formats. Again, these are things that are tweaks, marginal bumps. But then this was the biggie. This format, so we go back here to this version, boom, these two in between were kind of marginal, then this crushed it. And the only real difference here is the gray background. So this became our new control. This became our new landing page. One thing I want to note for you guys here, when we're talking about landing pages, I know a lot of people talk about what are you gonna. They'll ask you the question, what are you gonna give away for free, right? What is it when people come to your landing page that you're gonna give away for free? Well, as you can see in my landing pages, when we're talking about fixed cost, paid media, I'm not giving away anything other than curiosity, right? My process is I don't want people to really have to think. I just want them to get there and go through the process. So very contrary to what a lot of other people will say to you, if you're looking for maximum lead conversion, which leads to maximum ROI in a fixed cost world, curiosity is what you give away, not some big old honking report. You can put a report there too if you want, and that can be on the thank you page. But I'm saying ostensibly to get started, the only thing you need to build a list is curiosity, right? So you don't need to create the hurdle or the wall of creating or thinking about some massively valuable video or whatever and whatnot to get leads. It's not necessary. It's not even part of the equation. So we come to this format, then I start having fun and I start testing all sorts of stuff. And this is where I really, really get to learn the psychology behind a landing page. All right, now you can see this landing page is slightly different. I'm going to talk about a couple things here. Let me see here. Not that one, this one. These are slightly out of order. So we got to this landing page, and then this became the control. This beat this marginally. Let's say 5% more in terms of conversion. Now, here's what I want to note. When I added this yellow box, you can see there's no yellow box, there's no little blinking arrow, and there's no big yes, let me in button. When I tested this arrow individually, did not bump conversions. It decreased conversions. When I tested this big yes button, it did not increase conversions. It decreased conversions. When I added this yellow box, it was basically exactly the same. It didn't increase or decrease. But the combination of these increased conversions. So it's interesting to note that sometimes things that you'll test as you're playing this fun game of marketing individually will not create maximum or will not bump your conversion, but the combination of a few things that might have each individually depressed response might lead to an increase in response. That's super science, sciencey and advanced as a concept, but it's really interesting if you think about it. So you can see we were in here playing around with all sorts of stuff. So once we got here, then we started adding cool things. So I started to think about it. When I got to this point, I really realized how my prospects were thinking. And the gray background, what I started to think was, this is a very cool, calm, collected sort of situation. If they get here, there's no noise. There's only one thing to do. So what can I do to actually increase my response? And I said, well, what about credibility? What about, I've seen all these sites with all these banners, MSNBC, ABC, USA Today, BBC, CNN, banners. I wonder if that will give me a bump, because they'll say, wow, maybe if this site's been on there, there might be something really cool on the other side. But this, I found, dropped conversions dramatically. It didn't even work to save its life. Like a 20%, 15 to 20% decrease in leads. So what I learned, here's what I learned. People are smarter than you think. People are smarter than you think. If you stop them in their path and you do something that looks a little bit hokey, they're not falling for it, or at least less of them are falling for it. And so that didn't work. I added testimonials to the page. That decreased conversions. Almost anything I added to the page decreased conversions, including this. We added securities, emblems like we have right here. Boom, dropping conversions. So for a very long time, this was it. This was the one. But then I started to learn about and think about my prospects in a different way. And that brings us to where we are currently. After doing all these tests, I started to really see psychologically what my prospects were thinking as they were coming through my process. And I started to have this little metaphor that I would think about mentally when I thought about lead conversion for my prospects. And here's what it is. It's that if you can think about a deer in the forest that's thirsty. All right, if you think about that. A deer is out in the forest and he's thirsty. And let's say 300 feet away, there's a pristine pond with crystal clear water. If that thirsty deer sees that pond and he's thirsty, does the deer just jot over and get the water? No. The first thing the deer does is it looks around and it makes sure that everything is cool. If there's a little rustle over here, if there's a sound out of place or slight movement out of place, the deer is gone. Your prospects at the point of traffic to lead conversion are exactly like that thirsty deer. If you do anything weird or out of place, they're out of there. And so with that, what I realized was I needed to make the process simpler and safer, right? And if I could make the process simpler and safer for a person to opt in, maybe that might increase conversions now that I have this thirsty deer analogy in my head. And so I had this idea to try this 3-step process. When we create a beginning, a middle, and an end to something, that's a very safe situation for a human, right? We're intrigued by it. We want to go from beginning, middle to end. In the middle, we just need to get to that end. But if we know there's a defined path, I start here and I end here, safer. Micro commitment. That's what this part is all about. They're not putting in their email address yet. They're just saying, how did you find us? Well, that little click and then this subsequent click, believe it or not, is momentum. They've just got themselves into the process of stepping into your funnel. And now there you can see in the middle, they're almost done. And that little bit of force that lets them move forward without giving away their information is enough to, it's like momentum, to push them forward and increase their likelihood of opting in. So if they're in the middle of the process, they've, from a micro commitment standpoint, taken a couple steps to get themselves there, it's easier to get to the end than if we just put this email box there immediately. And so this format not only beat the regular lead capture page format, which is this version here, but I haven't found a format yet that beats it. The only thing that I think might beat something like this is if there was a quiz or some sort of long, if you've been to like an astrology site and, I remember one time depressed, I thought my life was sucky and was going to be over. And so I would go to these numerology and astrology sites and I would fill out these long surveys because I wanted to see if my life was going to turn out okay. Well, this is the sort of process that I'm thinking about. Maybe I'm the only one that's done that, right? If we can put and create a process where the right prospect with the right interest can go through a micro commitment process where they're asked customized, personalized questions and then delivered a customized response for them, that's the only thing I think that might beat this. And that's something we're going to be testing in the future. But if all you get from this training is how to create congruency and maximum clicks in terms of traffic from fixed cost media, email-based media, and that this landing page was an evolution. And if you can think about your prospects as a thirsty deer, then I guarantee you that you are in the 99.9 percentile in terms of understanding what's happening psychologically to create the maximum lead conversion. And that's the training. So what I'll do is I'll go here and I'll ask if you guys have any final questions. And then I'll say this. I know that there's a website now, and I don't want to, for this training, create this in a sense that, this is always going to be the way it is. But I know there's a website called Lead Pages. If you have questions, just go ahead and share them with me there. And just like a lot of other places, they've kind of swiped, quote unquote, my landing page. And so if you guys want a landing page like mine, I don't get a dime for this. I guess I'm incentivizing these people stealing my stuff, but only because it leads to you getting something that works. They have a version of our landing page that I guarantee they haven't tested. But it's as close as you could get to having this landing page without having us build it internally. And so that's where to get something similar. I'll see what we can do from our end to see if we can, in a limited quantity, make this landing page available to people. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, that's what I wanted to share. And it's some of the most important stuff I've ever learned about marketing. I guess here at the end, if there are no questions, if you guys could just give me a like right here, then that'll let me know that we did a decent job and we all had some fun. All right. Well, thank you, Kathy, very much. I appreciate that. For all the other feedback, I'll check that out after I stop this recording and I go on break. Then we'll come back and we'll address the other side of this equation. How to get traffic, how to get email traffic, and then secondarily, how to convert that email traffic most effectively. I'll see you guys in just a few minutes.